Christmas University Challenge. Asking the questions, Emil Virgin.
Hello and welcome to Christmas University Challenge, where once again we're asking 8 people who have distinguished themselves in their respective fields to risk their reputations by taking part in a very difficult quiz for little more than the honour of their alma maters. Playing on behalf of Royal Holloway tonight are, firstly, an award-winning writer whose works are shaped by her training as a professional anthropologist. She was one of Granta's 2013 class of Best Young British Novelists, and in 2022, her debut novel, A Golden Age, was included on the Big Jubilee Read list. Their second player began his musical career as arranger and keyboardist for the Divine Comedy, but now composes for stage, screen and orchestra. His diverse catalogue includes ballets for Christopher Wheeldon and Wayne McGregor, music for the films Sing and Wonka, and the theme and score for The League of Gentlemen. Their captain has spent her career working for equal rights and participation for disabled people, including people living with mental health challenges. She's been Policy Director of Mind and Chief Executive of Disability Rights UK, and is now Visiting Professor in Practice at LSE's International Inequalities Institute. Their final player is a poet whose multiple accolades include the Dylan Thomas Prize and a Geoffrey Dearmer Award. He's also the writer and presenter of the music podcast Decode, and in 2021 was appointed editor of Bloomsbury's first ever poetry imprint. Let's hear them introduce themselves in the usual way.
I'm Tamima Anam. I graduated in 2005 with an MA in creative writing.
Hi, I'm Joby Talbot. I graduated in 1992 with a Bachelor of Music.
And their captain?
Hi, I'm Liz Sace. I did a master's degree in social work and social policy from Bedford College, later became part of Royal Holloway in 1985.
I'm Kaio Chingonyi. I graduated with an MA in creative writing in 2012.
Their opponents tonight are all graduates of the University of East Anglia and include, firstly, the director of the UK Dementia Research Institute at UCL. She spent more than 30 years researching Alzheimer's disease and been recognised with the Potamkin Prize of the American Academy of Neurology and the British Neuroscience Association's Outstanding Contribution Award. Next to her is one of the many authors who have passed through UEA's prestigious MA in creative writing. His debut novel won him a Somerset Maugham Award, while his most recent led Hilary Mantel to praise him as a force in the English novel. They're captained by an art historian, writer and presenter of BBC4's Britain's Lost Masterpieces, whose research has led to the discovery or reattribution of numerous significant works, including paintings by Claude Lorraine, Bruegel the Younger and Van Dyck. Their final player trained as a pilot in Pakistan's Air Force before deciding he'd rather be a journalist. He later became head of the BBC's E02 service and still writes regularly for it, as well as for BBC Punjabi and the New York Times. He's also the author of a number of acclaimed novels and plays. Let's meet this year's team from UEA.
I'm Karen Duff. I graduated in 1987 with a degree in biological sciences.
I'm James Scudamore and I graduated in 2004.
And their captain?
Hello, I'm Bendel Grosvenor and I did a PhD in English history in 2009.
I'm Mohammad Hanif and I graduated in 2004.
I think you guys know the rules. Let me just briefly remind you that starter questions are open to all of you, but you have to answer on the buzzer and individually. If you get one right, you win 10 points for a chance for your team to confer on a set of 3 bonus questions. Fingers on buzzers then. Here is your first starter for 10. Frequently heard during the 2023 Ashes series, what recently coined cricket term derives from the nickname of the...
UEA Scudamore.
Bazball.
It is Bazball, yes, from Brendan Baz McCullum. 3 questions for you then, UEA, on things associated with the Magi, or Three Kings. Also known as Three Kings Day, which Christian holiday commemorates the visit of the Magi to the infant Jesus and marks the end of the 12 days of Christmas?
Nominate Scudamore.
12th night.
Bad luck. 12th night is the eve before Epiphany, which is what we needed here. Denoting members of a priestly caste, the word Magi derives via Latin and Greek from the ancient form of what language?
Nominate Hanif.
Aramaic?
No, it's Persian. The reliquary, known as the Shrine of the Three Kings, is housed in Northern Europe's largest Gothic cathedral. In which city on the River Rhine? It is Germany's 4th largest city.
Cologne. Cologne.
We'll go for Cologne.
It is Cologne, yes, well done. Another starter question now. Which major river is the subject of both a 1934 tone poem by the composer Florence Price and an orchestral suite of 1926 by Ferdy Grofe? Price's work notably quotes a number of African-American spirituals, while Grofe's suite includes movements entitled Father of the Waters and Huckleberry Finn.
Royal Holloway Talbot.
Mississippi?
It is Mississippi, yes, well done. Your bonuses, Royal Holloway, are on literary characters that share a given name. The young Puritan minister Arthur Dimmesdale is a major character in which American novel, first published in 1850? He is revealed to be the father of protagonist Hester Prynne's illegitimate child.
Is it the Scarlet Letter?
Maybe, yes.
Is it the Scarlet Letter? It could be. Or something.
The Scarlet Letter.
Correct, yes, by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Which British novel of 1848 centres on Helen Graham's marriage to the abusive alcoholic Arthur Huntingdon? It is relayed through her diaries, which she gives to narrator Gilbert Markham to explain her refusal of his suit.
Pass.
That was The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. Finally, the Honourable Arthur Homewood is the fiancé and later the killer of Lucy Westenra, in which Gothic novel of 1897?
Did he say they were American? Gothic novel 1897. 1897. Mystery of Udolpho, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Nominate Kayo.
Mystery of Udolpho?
No, it's Dracula. Bram Stoker. Another starter question now. In mathematics, what adjective begins expressions with the following meanings? A way of expressing linear programming problems that allows them to be solved by the simplex method, a convention for writing very large or very small numbers, also known as scientific notation, and a common measure of the dispersion of a set of values. In the first two cases, it precedes the word form, and in the last, it precedes deviation.
Royal Holloway Annam.
Standard.
It is standard, yes. Your bonuses, Royal Holloway, are on hibernation. Which bird of the family Hirundinidae does Samuel Johnson describe in his dictionary of 1755 as a small bird of passage, or, as some say, a bird that lies hid and sleeps in the winter? It is, in fact, a migratory bird whose arrival is said to mark the start of warmer weather.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
No, it's a swallow. Derived from the Latin for numb, which word is used to refer to a more general state of temporary inactivity or sluggishness exhibited by many animals, often for much shorter periods than full hibernation?
Torpor.
It is torpor, yes. Gliss is the so-called fat species of which rodent? It undergoes rapid weight gain in the autumn before entering a period of hibernation?
Lemming? Rodent. Lemming?
Lemming.
No, it's a dormouse. Bad luck. Picture round now, and for your picture starter, you'll see a still from a recent television adaptation of a novel by Jules Verne. For 10 points, name the character shown.
Royal Holloway Talbot.
Fred, sorry, it goes across. I need an immediate answer.
Sorry.
UEA Scudamore.
Captain Nemo?
Bad luck. It was Phileas Fogg. Another starter question now. Name either of the two abstract artists featured in the Tate Modern's 2023 exhibition titled Forms of Life. Born in Sweden and the Netherlands respectively, both died in 1944.
Royal Holloway Sace.
Hilda and Clint.
I'll accept that because all I needed to hear was Clint, which you did say, but the full name, so you know, is Hilma af Klint. Right, your picture bonuses now then, Royal Holloway. And for your picture starter, you saw David Tennant as Phileas Fogg, the main character, in the 1872 novel Around the World in 80 Days. For your picture bonuses, you will see maps representing sections of the journey made by Fogg and his companions in that book. In each case, name the origin and destination cities marked. First, Fogg travelled between these two cities on a steamer called the Mongolia.
Is that Mumbai? Or is that for too far south?
Yes, that is Mumbai. But he started here, which
And then
is
that's
where?
Cairo?
Cairo.
Oh, is it Cairo? Oh, is it? Oh, could it?
The Suez Canal.
Well, that could be Suez then.
Yes.
If it's on the Suez Canal.
Cairo.
Well, I don't know. Is Cairo's not on the? Is Cairo a bit further to the west?
Come on.
Okay. Do you want to Cairo to?
Cairo to Mumbai.
Bad luck, it's Suez and Mumbai. Bad luck. Secondly, on this leg of the journey, Fogg had to catch a steamer by himself after being separated from his valet. The destination is a major port close to its country's capital.
That's Tokyo, right?
Tokyo, too.
Is that Shanghai? Any better guesses?
Tokyo and Shanghai.
No, it's Hong Kong and Yokohama, but the route does go via Shanghai, as I think you guys spotted. Finally, this section of the journey was made by transcontinental train and wind-powered sledge.
Okay, so that's San Francisco
To,
to, it's in,
it's like Philadelphia or New York.
yeah, New York, San Francisco, New York.
San Francisco to New York.
Yes, it is San Francisco to New York. Well done. Let's start the question now. In 1890, George Edward Stanhope Molyneux Herbert inherited which earldom? An amateur archaeologist, he is best known as the...
UEA Grosvenor.
Carnarvon.
It is Carnarvon. Well done. Your bonuses, UEA, are on words that can precede weight in the name of official weight classes of the World Boxing Association. In each case, give the word from the definition. First, a type of large warship built for high speed. Well-known historical examples include HMS Belfast and the USS Long Beach.
Welterweight.
No, Bantam's small.
Welterweight.
Super heavy.
Heavyweight.
Welterweight.
Isn't there a class of ship called a super heavy?
Super
Dreadnought. Dreadnought is what I think. I don't think I'll say that then.
We'll go for dreadnought.
No, it's cruiser. Secondly, a former city and sultanate of Western Java, which played a major role in the spice trade between Asia and Europe in the early modern period.
East Timor.
Is it a place called Welter?
East Timor.
East Timor? Is there a weight class
What
called
weight
that?
classes have we got?
Welter, feather,
Welter, feather, bantam.
bantam.
No,
Try bantam.
bantams.
Bantam feels like a chicken.
It's a
Come on.
We'll go for bantam.
Bantam is correct. And finally, a biological structure of the epidermis in some animals. It can be classed as either pennaceous or plumulaceous.
Feather.
Feather.
Feather is correct, yes. Now let's start the question now. 10 points in it. 2023 marks the 100th anniversary of the Nobel Prize awarded to John McLeod and Frederick Banting for the discovery of what polypeptide hormone? It is named after the Latin for island because it is produced in the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas.
Royal Holloway Chingoni.
Insulin.
It is insulin, yes. Your bonuses, Holloway, are 3 questions on hills in England. In which English county is the eponymous area of outstanding natural beauty that includes Wenlock Edge and the Wrekin?
Is it Shropshire or Cheshire? It's that neck of the woods, isn't it? Shropshire. Shropshire.
Shropshire.
Correct. Worcestershire Beacon is the highest point in which range of hills, the setting of William Langland's Middle English poem Piers Plowman?
The Malverns.
It is. Cheddar Gorge lies in which range of limestone hills to the north of the Somerset Levels?
Chilterns.
No, it's the Mendip Hills. Bad luck. Now let's start the question now. What 5-letter word is found in the names of all of the following? A national society devoted to the keeping and exhibiting of rats, the UK's main pedigree cat registration body, and the title of the official journal of the National Pigeon Association. It can mean the art or practice of breeding animals so as to develop points of conventional beauty or perceived excellence.
UEA Scudamore.
Breed?
No? Anyone want to guess from Royal Holloway? You may not confer.
Royal Holloway Talbot.
Fancier.
No, I'm afraid I can't accept that. It's fancy. I did say 5-letter word. Bad luck.
Oh, you did.
Now let's start the question now. Thought to derive from the Tupi word for White House or possibly House of the White Man, the word carioca refers to the inhabitants and culture of what major...
UEA Scudamore.
Rio de Janeiro.
It is Rio de Janeiro, yes, well done. Your bonuses there are 3 questions on composers who influenced Mozart. In 1764, at the age of 8, Mozart journeyed to London where he composed his first symphonies under the influence of which son of J.S. Bach? I need to hear both his forenames or his initials.
Christian. Sure. Christian. We'll go for JC.
JC is correct, yes, for Johann Christian, yes. Elements of Mozart's opera Idomeneo, King of Crete, are sometimes likened to the work of which Bavarian composer? His operas include Orfeo ed Eurydice and Alceste.
Brahms is after Mozart. We'll go for Brahms.
No, it's Gluck. Finally, Mozart dedicated string quartets published in 1785 to which leading composer of the Viennese school? He described the younger man as the greatest composer known to me in person or by name.
I think Schubert.
No, that was Joseph Haydn. Another starter question now, and it's a music starter. For your music starter, you're going to hear a piece of classical music. For 10 points, name the composer.
Roll Holloway Talbot.
Beethoven.
It is Beethoven, yes. Symphony number 9. For your starter, you heard an excerpt from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which was performed as part of Queen Elizabeth II's formal opening of the Sydney Opera House 50 years ago this year. For your bonuses, you will hear 3 pieces notably performed in the early life of the Opera House before the official opening. First, who is the composer of this operatic overture? A programme of their work was performed as the first public gala concert at the Opera House several weeks before the official opening.
Wagner.
Yes, it was Wagner. That's from the overture to Die Meistersinger von Nürnberg. Secondly, who's the Russian composer of this opera, the first major work to be performed at the Opera House a day before the Wagner concert?
Yeah, I think it is.
Shostakovich.
No, that was Prokofiev from War and Peace. Finally, who is this singer? In what was arguably the first performance at the Opera House, he visited the building site and sang this song to the construction workers in 1960.
There's an old man called Mississippi. That's the old man that I'd like to be. What does he care if the world's got trouble? What does he care if the land ain't free?
It's...
Old man river, old man river.
Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson and Old Man River, yes. Now, the start of the question now. In October 2023, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Narges Mohammadi for her fight against the oppression of women in what country?
Roll Holloway Annam.
Iran?
It is Iran, yes. Your bonuses are on the chemistry of stinging nettles. In each case, identify the chemical from the description. Also known as methanoic acid, this is the simplest of the carboxylic acids. It is present in nettle venom and takes its name from the Latin word for a social insect.
Oh, it's begins with a ant. What's it called? What?
An ant?
No, it's the adjective for ant. It's
an adjective for ant?
yeah. It's begins with an A.
Come on.
Pass. Pass.
This is going to be so painful, Joby. It's formic acid.
Formic.
Bad luck. Second, the chief neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic nervous system, also found in nettle venom. This was the first neurotransmitter to be identified and characterised and is known by the abbreviation ACH.
It's an additional acid. Acetic acid? No, not that. Go on. Whatever.
Acetic.
No, it's acetylcholine. Associated with mast cells in the human body, this substance is released during allergic reactions. For example, hay fever. In nettle venom, it causes inflammation and pain.
Histamine. Yeah, histamine.
Histamine.
Histamine, yes. Let's start the question now. Which province of southwest China is the location of the Leshan giant Buddha, located at the confluence of the Min and Dadu rivers and the ancient irrigation system known as the Dujiangyan that waters the Chengdu Plain? Its cuisine is typified by the use of a dried pepper that imparts a characteristic...
UEA Scudamore.
Sichuan.
Sichuan is correct, yes. Your bonuses, UEA, are on a group of contemporaries at the Slade School of Art who are described by their professor Henry Tonks as the school's last crisis of brilliance. Name each artist from the description. First, a painter born in London in 1889 who served as an official war artist in both the First and Second World Wars. His major works include the landscapes We Are Making a New World and The Menin Road.
You're all looking at me.
I mean, we are all looking at you, yeah.
Paul Nash.
It is Paul Nash. Secondly, a painter closely associated with the Bloomsbury Group. She made notable portraits of E.M. Forster and Lytton Strachey, as well as landscapes influenced by surrealism. From her time at the Slade onwards, she chose to be known only by her surname.
Is it Gluck?
No, it's Carrington. Finally, a painter born in Cookham in 1891. He described the aim of his art as to take the inmost of one's wishes, the most varied religious feelings, and to make it an ordinary fact of the street.
Stanley Spencer. Stanley Spencer. Stanley Spencer.
It is Stanley Spencer, yes. Now, let's start the question now. The Arab scholar Alhazen is often referred to as the father of what branch of physics? In the 17th century, Kepler, Descartes and Thomas Hobbes all wrote on this field, and it was the subject of lectures by Isaac Newton early in his career. In 1704, Newton's revised findings were published in a treatise whose subtitle mentions reflections, refractions, inflections and colours.
Roll Holloway Talbot.
Optics.
Optics is correct, yes. Your bonuses, Royal Holloway, are on football clubs that were among the 12 founding members of the Football League in 1888, but as of 2023 have never been English League champions. Which club from the North West have won the FA Cup 4 times, most recently in 1958, but have no other major honours to their name?
Maybe Preston North End. Maybe.
Preston North End?
No, it's Bolton Wanderers. Which Midlands club, who added City to their name in 1925, has the 1971-72 League Cup as its only major trophy to date?
Birmingham, probably, yeah. Birmingham.
Birmingham City?
Stoke City. Finally, the league's oldest club, which club's highest ever league position, was third in 1891 and 1901. They won the 1894 FA Cup, the first win for a team outside the top flight, and dropped out of the Football League for the first time in 2019, only to return in 2023.
Anything?
Like totally out of the Football League, like out of the bottom of it. I don't know.
Come on.
Try Preston North End again.
Preston North End.
No, it's Notts County. Picture round now. And for your picture starter, you'll see a painting by a French artist. For 10 points, give me the artist's name.
Roll Holloway Sace.
Bert Morisot?
No.
UEA Grosvenor.
Monet.
Monet is correct. Following on from that painting by Monet of turkeys at the Chateau de Rottenbourg, your picture bonuses are 3 more examples of turkeys in art. Again, in each case, I just need the name of the artist for the points. First, another French artist.
Millet. Jean-François Millet.
Yes, secondly.
Oh, my goodness. I've got the old masters. Anyone? Pass.
That was Edvard Munch. And finally?
What's his name? The comic fellow. Yeah.
Not Warhol? Oh.
No, the comic fellow. Begins with L. Doesn't it? Roy Lichtenstein.
Lichtenstein, yeah.
Roy Lichtenstein.
Correct, yes. Let's start the question now. 20 points in it and plenty of time. I need a 2-word term here. Which style of poetic metre was developed and named by the poet Gerard Manley Hopkins as a way to better emulate the natural patterns of spoken...
Roll Holloway Chingonyi.
Sprung rhythm.
It is sprung rhythm, yes. Your bonuses are 3 questions on a colour in film. According to designer Sarah Greenwood, production of which 2023 film caused an international shortage of paint in one specific colour, in which the entire set was painted? A signature Pantone colour also bears the name of the film.
Barbie.
Yes. Kay Thompson can be seen singing Think Pink in which 1957 musical rom-com, directed by Stanley Donen and starring Fred Astaire and Audrey Hepburn?
Breakfast at Tiffany's. No, it's not.
It's Sabrina Fair, or no, where's the funny girl? Funny face. Funny face.
Funny face.
Funny face?
Correct. Finally, in which 1986 John Hughes film does Andy Walsh get ditched before the prom by Blaine, but ends up going anyway with her best friend Ducky? The film is named for a Psychedelic Furs song.
Oh, Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink.
Correct. 3.5 minutes to go, still plenty of time for your UEA. Another starter question. Belonging to the family Bromeliaceae and primarily pollinated by hummingbirds, varietals of which plant species include Queen, Red Spanish and Smooth Cayenne? The fruit of this plant appears atop the gentleman's singles trophy at Wimbledon since 1887, supposedly because of its rare and exotic status at the time.
UEA Scudamore.
Pineapple.
It is a pineapple, yes. Your bonuses are on experiments conducted at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. First, the largest particle detector ever built. Which experiment at CERN shares its name with a titan in Greek mythology, one of the children of Iapetus? Come on, give yourselves a chance.
Someone big. Cyclops.
Cyclops. We're going to go for Cyclops.
No, it's Atlas. Along with Atlas, the CMS was one of 2 experiments that first detected the Higgs boson in 2012. For what type of particle does the letter M stand in CMS?
Molecule.
Molecule.
No, it's the muon. Which experiment is dedicated to studying heavy ion collisions in the LHC? Its acronym spells the given name of a Canadian Nobel laureate in literature, particularly known for her short stories.
Monroe. Monroe.
We need the given name, which was Alice.
Aye.
Bad luck, which we said in the question. Now let's start the question now. Born in Brighton in 1883, Joan Riviere was a notable early translator of which scientist and author who once wrote to her that he would like no one but her to take care of his work. She was responsible for the now standard translation of the title Das Unbehagen in der Kultur as Civilization and its Discontents.
Roll Holloway Chingoni.
Sigmund Freud.
It is Sigmund Freud. Your bonuses are 3 questions on an American novelist. In a 2023 obituary, which author's novels were described as grim, violent tales of life, stripped down to the raw fundamentals of existence in a hostile world? His works include Blood Meridian and No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy.
Certainly was. What collective name is given to McCarthy's 3-novel series that includes All the Pretty Horses and Cities of the Plain?
Is it the Border Trilogy, I think, isn't it? The Border Trilogy?
The Border Trilogy.
The Border Trilogy is correct. McCarthy's 2006 novel The Road has been cited as an influence on which video game of 2013? In the 2023 TV adaptation of this game, Bella Ramsey played the role of Ellie.
The Last of Us.
It is The Last of Us. Now let's start the question. It's a quote. All grown-ups were once children, but only few of them remember it. This statement appears in which 1943 children's book? According to the Guinness Book of World Records, it has been translated into over 300...
UEA Scudamore.
Peter Pan.
No, I'm afraid you lose 5 points. Translated into over 382 languages. You may not confer. 382 languages and dialects, making it the most translated book by a single author. That author being Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
Roll Holloway Talbot.
The Little Prince.
It is The Little Prince, yes. 3 bonus questions for you on whiskey. To be sold as bourbon, a whiskey must be distilled from a mash bill containing at least 51% of what grain?
Is it rye, like rye? Or it could, yeah. But that
Rye.
sounds good.
And at the goal, the UEA had 95 and Royal Holloway at 170. UEA, I could see that listening to those bonus questions was so painful for you because you knew the answers to most of them, but just not the starters that came before them. Bad luck. I think that was a very creditable performance. Have you vaguely enjoyed yourselves?
Good fun.
It's been really good to have you. Thank you. Royal Holloway, I think that's a strong, solid performance, even though your knowledge of football is absolutely absurd. Good to see you. Thank you for playing so well. I hope you can join us next time for another alumni match. But until then, it is goodbye from UEA.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Royal Holloway London.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.